Bueno, bienvenidos a este capítulo especial del Oráculo de Modo Cripto on Tour. Hoy estamos en directo desde el Merge de Madrid, el evento que se está celebrando en la capital dedicado a la fusión entre la blockchain, los activos digitales, la Web3 y también de España y de Latinoamérica. Y bueno, estamos súper contentas de tener con nosotras a Patrick South, que es vicepresidente de TRM Labs. Patrick, welcome. Thank you very much for being here with us today in the Merge Madrid.
Thanks for having me, Naomi. It's a beautiful event.
Yeah, it is. It is. With Patrick, we are going to talk about crimes, frauds, and scams in the blockchain and the traceability, because TRM Labs is a company specialized in tracing the criminals. Is that correct?
More or less it is. We're a blockchain intelligence firm. We've been around for about 6 years now, and we specialize in what I'll broadly call AML for crypto. And one component of that is certainly enabling our public sector partners and our private sector partners with technology that can help them trace illicit funds.
Okay, Patrick. Speaking of this, TRM Labs published a report on December 2023 stating that cryptocurrency hacking losses fell by more than 50% compared to the previous year. And could we say that the same goes for 2024? So it is decreasing, the hacking in our ecosystem?
I so wish that I could tell you that. Well, we've certainly seen a downturn in some of the hacking and scam activity that we see, or what I'll broadly call fraud activity in the landscape. We're actually seeing an uptick in more AI-enabled fraud and scams. And so the convergence of what we've been talking about for 15 years now as it relates to crypto and the emergence of generative AI are now causing a bit of an uptick in fraudulent and scam activity. So the playbooks that we're seeing around something called pig butchering globally, which has oftentimes impacted primarily English-speaking countries, whether it be the US or the UK or even Singapore and Asia, we're now seeing that playbook being able to be replicated in any language at scale with AI-enabled activity. And that's a little bit of a concern to us, in that we think that the combination of AI-enabled fraud plus high-throughput blockchains may end up leading to an uptick in fraudulent or scam activity. And it's something that we're working with both our public and private partners to combat.
So as far as AI combined with other activities are concerned, do you foresee a future where crimes and frauds would increase?
I think yes, on a quantitative basis. However, if you're looking at that purely based off of volume, we see crypto activity increasing generally. We see more stablecoin activity, and so with that, you're going to see naturally a volume of illicit activity increase with that. The biggest question becomes, on a percentage basis, do we see an increase in the overall percentage of illicit activity amongst what is licit or normalized activity? And that's where we'll kind of wait to the end of the year to produce some insights for the community.
Higher activity volumes goes along with higher fraudulent activity, maybe. Okay.
Unfortunately, I think naturally. However, we hope to work with core ecosystem partners to continue to reduce the overall exposure of illicit activity within the crypto ecosystem.
Education and prevention, I think that they are key. But also, there's a misconception maybe that blockchain is completely anonymous, so the activity, even if it's fraudulent or if it's a scam, can be traced. But again, this is a misconception, right?
It is a misconception. I think kind of going back to the basics here, one of the core pieces of magic that's enabled the prevalence of blockchain activity broadly today is the fact that it operates on an open, distributed, in most instances, permissionless ledger. And that same ledger that provides the benefits in terms of immutability, in some aspects for some chains like Bitcoin and others, some censorship resistance, there's also a very public element of that. And so you can see transactions as they're ossified on these public blockchains, and that inherently enables some level of traceability. Different blockchains have different levels of what we'll broadly call traceability, but they're very much pseudo-anonymous, meaning you can see one alphanumeric wallet address sending funds to one or more alphanumeric wallet addresses. But there's a natural question of, who or whom are behind those wallet addresses.
So at what point could be this who or whom be found? Is it possible to, like in the movies, so that's the criminal, or this is also another misconception?
Yeah, it's a great question. A lot of that activity ends up aligning to the end user and who they choose to expose their identity to. And so, for instance, I leverage a variety of VASPs, virtual asset service providers, or what some people just know as cryptocurrency exchanges. I leverage many of those personally. If I want to go buy or sell Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever asset, I may choose to use a VASP for that. And in that instance, many of the VASPs that I choose to use require what's called Know Your Customer or KYC details. So I give them a copy of my passport to open an account there so that I can send fiat, in my instance US dollars, to convert that to Bitcoin. Because I've done that, if I then withdraw those funds to a wallet address of my own, I may start to expose information about myself that VASP now knows. They know my identity, they know what wallet addresses I use, and so different parties in the ecosystem may know that. When I submit my taxes, I may disclose information about myself to a tax authority and what address I'm using. I've now disclosed my identity with a wallet address to a tax authority. But I do all of that knowingly and intentionally. And so in those instances, I'm disclosing my identity with a wallet address. Private sector partners like ourselves at TRM Labs, the work that we do isn't linking a individual's identity to a cryptocurrency wallet address. And instead, it's primarily focused on linking activity to a certain wallet address, or mapping the broader ecosystem to say this is a VASP, this is a scam address, this is associated with a terror financing organization per se.
Okay, understood. And what about the regulation? What role plays MiCA in what you do now? It's going to make Europe a more secure, a more safe ecosystem because everything is going to be identified, as you said. So identification is another of the keys that we have to take into account when talking about traceability. So if MiCA is a regulation that allows everyone to be identified, everyone who wants to be a key role, so do you think that Europe will be this safer place in the world?
I do. The jury is still out, so to speak, on how MiCA ends up being implemented across the ecosystem, and we have some major deadlines in front of us in terms of the beginning of 2025. So we'll see a lot of movement around that this quarter in particular as we wrap up 2024. MiCA is one of the most thoughtful regulations that we see in the landscape. So Peter Kirstens and the crew over in the EU who have been working on this for years, it's special to see this come to life. And we're really seeing regulators in individual European countries begin to thoughtfully figure out how this is going to be implemented, and VASPs figure out how they are going to comply with the requirements in front of them. I do think that this will lead to a safer crypto ecosystem because of the thoughtfulness and the regulations that they've put forward. Some of that has to do with disclosures for consumer protection rationale. And so individuals will now have more insight into what it is that they're investing in, and having more insight in terms of what the work we're doing with chain abuse, in terms of what activity may be deemed as scams or fraudulent, to protect them from engaging with those addresses or those entities in the first place.
Yes, so putting the user at the center, I mean the regulation puts the user and his safety at the center, so all the rest of the activities like companies like TRM are going to be easier. But you've mentioned chain abuse, which is a tool that allows us to identify fraudulent crypto wallets and to report scams. So we are better citizens if we use chain abuse. But apart from having the regulators to protect us, what could we do as users to prevent fraud and scams, or maybe even money laundering?
Yeah, it's a complex question, which I love.
I know.
to simplify slightly, is an end user, there are some core basics in terms of how I operate. The first is just understanding operational security. If I choose to open an account to the cryptocurrency exchange, how do I ensure that I have a strong password, that I have multi-factor authentication, and most importantly, that I understand the risks that exist in the landscape of scams continuously reaching out to say that they are from an exchange, they're a support entity from an exchange, and your account's been compromised and you need to use your funds, and individuals having the education to just know, in that instance, hang up the phone, don't respond to the WhatsApp text, and instead contact that exchange directly. Within your accounts, they will flag if there is an issue.
So these general guidelines could be applied to any other financial institution. I mean, if you receive a suspicious text from your bank saying, click here and give me your money, you're not going to do that. I mean, it's just common sense.
Yeah, the same way you'd engage with Santander is the same way that you should choose to engage with Coinbase or Binance or whoever you work with. On chain abuse, as an individual, you may have a non-custodial wallet. In that instance, you can go to chain abuse, and before you send funds to a wallet address, you can screen that wallet address to see if it's associated with the scam. And so we encourage users to only send and receive funds, or primarily to send funds, to individuals or entities that they know, and with a wallet address that they've validated. And so chain abuse can be a way to quickly screen that as a last check to ensure that you're not about to send funds to a well-known scam.
So a powerful tool you have that you are going to explain to the audience here at Merge Madrid. We are very much looking forward to this panel. And well, thank you very much. I could go for hours talking to you because those are really interesting and concerning questions, but the time is short. So thank you very much, Patrick.
No, Amy, thank you.
Thank you. Muchas gracias y despedimos por el momento este capítulo especial del Oráculo de Modo Cripto on Tour desde Merge Madrid. No olvidéis suscribiros a nuestro canal en YouTube para tener más episodios como este, en el que siempre intentamos relacionar el mundo Web 2 con el mundo Web 3 y sobre todo, como nos decía Patrick, poner al usuario en el centro. Gracias.